All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. Today's video is part of the ongoing effort to expand the public archive, which you can check out at brozime.com. I'm developing the public archive to be an all-in-one, easy-to-use guide for new and returning Warframe players. If you'd like to get early access to the project notes in progress, or to provide feedback or new ideas for the public archive, you can become a member on Patreon, or additionally, subscribe on Twitch. Thanks so much to all of my current subs and patrons for supporting the project. Now let's jump into the video. All right. Hello and welcome everyone to another builds refresh video. This is going to be the second one Mag gets this year, but the reason for that is because, of course, we have a bunch of new starter frame buffs, and Mag's build is the one that has definitely changed the most significantly, and it utilizes some of the kind of new mechanics, I guess I'll call it, for armor calculations. So let's jump into Neutron Star Mag, as it were. So we are using a bit of a different build. She has also had an augment upgrade in the form of Fracturing Crush, and this build looks pretty significantly different than what we would use before. We get to use extremely high range, very low strength, and maxed out efficiency in this build, and still gain the full benefit of Fracturing Crush because its base percentage of 75% is very high, and we can do some fun math things with Corrosive Projection. So, with Fracturing Crush, this is 75% by default, but we're on a 41% armor reduction. However, armor reduction is now additive in terms of ability source. And it is also additive with Corrosive Projection. So, if you take 100% of the enemy's total armor, and you minus 18%, you get 82% remaining. That 82% remaining, you can just raw minus from with any armor stripping ability, which means that any armor strip that you use only needs to hit 82% instead of 100%, which is a massive strength save on a lot of frames with Corrosive Projection, like Hildren, and also like Mag. With our setup here, we get to use Overextended and low strength, and balance it out a little bit with Power Drift to hit 41% armor reduction on Crush before Molt Augmented. That means worst case scenario at the very beginning of the mission, if we cast Crush twice, we will still full strip armor, and 2 casts is not so bad, considering there are other benefits to casting Crush anyway. But with Molt Augmented stacked up, which you can get 60% strength from this exactly, which is exactly countering Overextended, you can see that our armor strip goes up to 86%, which is 4% higher than we even need, allowing us to full armor strip as long as we have Molt Augmented built up, which is only 250 kills, which is not so bad, and technically you only need like 240 or whatever. Not that that's very relevant. But yeah, that's where we are in terms of using Fracturing Crush. This augment, also the casting speed on this is really, really important, because otherwise Crush would be just too slow to cast in order for this to be worth it, but because you can cast it really quickly, casting it twice can be worth it. Also, the enhanced crowd control from this, just getting the 7 seconds of enemies unable to move, does also matter and is very good for moving through levels without being harassed. We're basically just using this completely in place of where we would have used, well, I guess we're not using it anymore. Her 3 augment that stunned enemies. This is just better in every way at this point because it's no longer capped at 80% armor reduction, because 80% armor reduction was completely useless in the old system. Although it would be 2% away from being good in the new system because of the way Corrosive Projection works. So that's kind of an interesting note. Yeah, otherwise we're using Adaptation just to make it so we don't have to generate shields as often, which, notable thing, Crush will always generate you basically a max overshield in any situation where you're fighting any significant-ish number of enemies, so you can expect to have like 1600 shields all the time, and Adaptation is going to, make it so we have to refresh less often. Adaptation will basically make Mag completely invincible in the regular star chart, and just much, much safer in the Steel Path. And then otherwise we're just, running some like decent duration. She doesn't need a ton because like her 2 lasts a good amount of time. 15 seconds is not bad. We don't really need more than 7-second duration on the stun here. And of course her pull is new and doesn't rely on duration. And we are using Resonator, which, while it really loves to have more duration, 21 seconds is not bad. This is the additional defensive measure I have decided to put on her. You can go with things like Breach Surge, and I think that those options are going to be good, but the really nice thing about Resonator is that it is not line of sight, and in addition to that, it makes enemies walk. And that might not sound great, but her 2 still has the problem where whenever the initial target dies, the suction of the 2 is massively reduced. If the enemies are walking, though, the suction is still enough to bring them to the center relatively quickly. Not to mention, with the Resonator making the enemies walk the path that it is creating, that can often be through your 2 if you're trying to specifically set it on enemies where you know Resonator will path. That takes some getting used to, but I think that it is very useful. And also just like throwing Resonator out and making all the enemies not able to attack you is, of course, very beneficial. So yeah, this is what we're on. It's quite good. We are using the Nataruk with it. The Nataruk with it is incredibly powerful. This was bugged for a while to not really work, but now it works the way that you'd imagine it should with her too, and is very, very powerful. This is a zero forma thing. Everyone gets it from the new war. Extremely, extremely accessible and not hard to get at all. It also, in combination with her 2, absolutely obliterates acolytes, especially when you armor strip them. So you're not going to have really any troubles with pretty much anything. Mag is quite good now. She has quite a lot of benefit here. Also, she has some new stuff she can do with her 1 that is more funny than like particularly insane, but it is also a really good time to do, so we're going to show it off. So we have this level 190 test, the usual here, and things are going to be pretty simple. Just throw out the 2, cast a powerful Nataruk shot into the middle of this, or cast, not really cast. And then you can cast your 4 if the enemies aren't dying, but they're going to die. Yeah, that's just 1 Nataruk shot in there. I would suggest using at least a little toned down Nataruk color for this, because otherwise it's going to be incredibly bright, but that's generally what you want to be doing to enemies, is just obliterating them. Worth noting, there are ancients in this, so they are crowd control resistant, but that doesn't last particularly long, because it sucks the ancients into the center and gets rid of them very quickly. Now, if we drop the ancients out of here, we can show kind of one of the fun things you can do with pull, and just also how good pull is now. So pull now does this, which is obviously good. I don't know if you know that that's obviously good, whether you're utilizing this with melee to just, you know, evaporate the enemies post-haste, or if you are just using it to group enemies into your 2, if you're like, you know, getting the reduced suction on your 2 and you just need all of the enemies around you to get in this bubble, you can do that with her 1 now fairly easily. Of course, you do have to get in your bubble yourself, but that's usually not a problem. And then also, on top of this, this is a skill that works airborne, so what you can do is this. Oh, if you don't hit hard landings. And that's just fun. Just doing some sick trick shots and killing the enemies this way, just for a laugh, is quite fun. Probably more of a thing you would do on open worlds, and is probably actually reasonably effective there. Because of the range on pull, at least the non-subsumed version that Mag gets to use being absolutely massive, and also just being highly effective. Also, for new players, because a lot of these changes were, you know, relevant to new players, this is going to be incredible for utilizing the Mark 1 bow plus pull. You're going to be able to kill a lot of enemies that way, and it is going to make her a much better starter just from that. Not to mention all the other changes that were made that basically gives you the full stats of all of your abilities whenever they are their lower levels, which is just going to be better for new players. But yeah, this is quite a bit better for Mag. She still can have some consistency issues depending on if she just gets like swarmed by Eximus, although your bubbles do protect you from a lot of what Eximuses can do. It won't protect you from their AoEs and such. But yeah, that's Mag at this point. Enjoy the Steel Path run, and I will see you tomorrow. All right, let's get this Steel Path started. Be very easy. Should not be problematic, really, in any way. Although I will say the main problem that Mag can have is violence specifically, but I mean, for obvious reasons. Most Warframes have trouble with violence if they're going to have trouble with any of the acolytes. Well, this is a good starting room. Although I think she prefers the hallways a little more now.
Then steal their Kuva catalysts. Predictable. As expected, Grenier has shut down the environmental systems, sending
We're going to throw this out to
for
start.
use these to sustain your environment or attack.
Hitting this in doorways is quite good, because whenever they try and walk through it, they cannot. Oh, we have locked door on this side? That's actually super good. Oh, also with the Nadaruk, it's worth noting that you can transfer your Nadaruk shots because they have infinite enemy punch through. You can transfer them between. There's the full effective here. You can transfer them between your bubbles. So if you just want to keep your Nadaruk stuff like going basically infinitely, you definitely can do that. Also, regular Nadaruk shots are really not bad in here at all. They also have like good punch through. If I move too far away, I will start getting enemies behind me, but it's not a huge deal as long as I just like stick to my bubbles. Unfortunately, still the problem of like doors. We're not quite at that full armor strip yet, but we're still doing. I mean, whenever we do the armor strip, we're doing like 600,000. So like, still whatever. Bring all these enemies in. We're at 99, whatever.
I delivered a life support capsule to the area. Activating it will buy you more time.
The enemy's pretty whatever here. I'm not having great spawn rates, though. The Resonator bringing a bunch of enemies in, which is nice. They're all dead, which will be the trend here. Just using regular shots, you can see how effective that is too. So like even if you don't have like a nice high synergy thing, like using the charged shots on the Nadaruk, even like a regular weapon is going to be pretty good with a little bit of punch through. For 170 kills. Kill all these guys.
Life support on the way.
Oh, whoops. That guy died. There we go. I think we're at enough now to full strip. No, not quite. Although you can pretty clearly see, not that it matters much. Enemy's not really surviving regardless. And they won't survive regardless. I mean, like, the armor strip is... It's more so if you're just, like, not doing synergy, or whenever you just want to make this really easy, because your bubble damage will start killing everyone. I also feel like I'm seeing so many fewer Xmas than I normally do, but... There's that full armor strip you can see now. You'll start seeing the bubble damage do enough to just, like, outright kill enemies after that. A bunch of enemies got pulled to this door, so I'll just make it easy. Okay, you also are still getting... Oop, an enemy died. You also are still getting the, like, big, like, booms off your 2. So whenever they expire, they usually are doing exactly that and killing a bunch of enemies still. So it's not very hard to just get a lot. Just get a lot of enemies real dead real fast. We've got Malice. Hey, Malice has got the same ability we do. That's crazy. I want to throw a bubble on him, he'll throw a bubble on me, and then we'll shoot the Nadaruk at him. And then he's dead. Yeah, the Acolytes don't like Mags 2. Turns out Mags 2, it's really effective whenever Malice uses it on you, and it's really effective whenever you use it on Malice or any of the other Acolytes. They are not big fans. Almost got by an Xmas there, which is usually the case. Yeah, sometimes the Xmas can be slightly off-center like that one was. Usually solved by the glaive, which is why I take it. Because the glaive has that nice AoE for your bubble, so if you're on like a weird angle or whatever, it can fix it. Just in the center here. You can also, like, it's really easy now to low-level farm. And what I mean by that is, oof, every time I do that, it just feels rough for the enemies. Like, they just don't stand a chance against that, huh? But yeah, low-level farming now with her 4 is way better, because the full armor strip means that it can kill considerably higher level enemies than it could before. Just because, you know, the way that armor scaling works is exponential, so if you completely remove armor, you do vastly more damage. There's some ribbon slivers. Ribbon slivers, by the way, have a much higher drop rate now, so if those of you that were having trouble with the Nightwave challenge where you need to turn those in, it should be much easier now. I did a sortie recently that had the, like, Eximus stronghold, and I got, like, 25 slivers or something, like some outrageous amount. So it is, maybe that was maybe a little lucky, but it's still like much easier than it was before. And one thing you're gonna run into here is the doors do close on your pull, unfortunately. The doors can't detect an enemy that's laying down for whatever reason. Also, you will die sometimes because if you like throw your 2 at an enemy, and if they just don't care, then you can sometimes get into a situation where, how do I put this? Basically, your 2 fails to attach to an enemy, and that's what you needed to live. So therefore, you die. You can occasionally kind of just get unlucky in that way, but it can also be caused by teammates occasionally too. What is that? There you go. Just trip him with the operator into one of my 2s and call it a day. Yeah, right there. You can see it, like, failed to attach. Yeah, failed to attach is, like, a main cause of potential problems. But you can, I mean, we're not having any real issues here. I can, like, spam cast my 4 and then get into a position where it's really not a big deal at all. We're getting really fast acolytes. Who's this? Mania. Okay, yeah. So not our problem one of potentially seeing violence, but that's good for us. Yeah, just of note, if you see violence, you are going to want to be more careful about him and probably go into operator mode. If you're in a squad, violence shouldn't be an issue because he can't nullify you all. But yeah. There we go. These enemies, throw my 2 over here, take care of that, like, full hallway. Kill these guys out. You can also just, like, what happened there is I failed to attach, but my Natter just killed everything anyway because it was all armor stripped. This is also going to be pretty common because full armor strips turns out pretty good. Who knew? Your 2s will mostly just keep you, like, with good bubbles of, like, enemies can't shoot you from that direction, which is effective enough to get you where you need to go in almost all cases. And dead. Here we go. Ooh. There we go. When in doubt, just gain max shields. And then we're about at 10 minutes here, so we can just do a chill and get on out of here, which I think is this direction.
Look what our Tenno operative just found. They could not do this.
Yeah, and then in terms of, like, even when you're moving around and exiting, because your 4 is, like, so fast now, you can just use it to, like, gain instant max shields. So it's, like, pretty good for just, like, moving through a level and being like, oh no, my shields went down, just hit 4 while you're flying, because you can use it while you're hovering. But yeah, mag is considerably better now. Mainly, like, just having a good, reliable armor strip and getting rid of her bad one that's on her 3 just makes her infinitely better. Yeah, that's going to do it. Another mag refresh in the books. Didn't think I would have to do one so soon, but I'm also happy that she's better and seems like an even better starter, even though I thought that she was the best starter to begin with. Well, before the buffs anyway. She's pretty close to the others now, but that's mostly because I think Excal and Volt moved up rather significantly. Yeah, that's going to do it. Thank you for hanging out, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Also, hey everyone, we have a new outro. So, sorry this has taken a little while to get going for those of you that are over on the Patreon, but thank you so much to all of you $10+ patrons. Brutus, Salazar, Dylan Dworsky, Efrain, Jeremy Stevens, Joshua Adams, Malik X. Williams, Mitchta, Trent Hallmark, Victor, and Zach Zahner. Thank you very much for being $10 patrons. And also, thank you very much to just all the patrons in general. It's been really awesome to try and get this big website stuff off the ground. And I hope you guys continue to support me and are enjoying the content that is going up there, including this video. So yeah, it's been a fantastic time so far, and hopefully we can just keep it going. Have a good one, everybody. Hopefully you guys enjoy the new outro as well. I think it came out pretty nice. And that should do it. Later, all.